Hello guys, topic for today's video is the Keynesian theory of money and prices, or as to how the prices are influenced by money supply. I mean the general price level in the economy, how it will be influenced by money supply. If it is found that money supply has the direct relationship to the price as was suggested by the classical theory or classical quantity theory of money, that means the monetary measures in the economy or the monetary policy in the economy would be effective in bringing about the calculated changes in the economy or to regulate the economy. Okay, because classical economists believed that money and price hold the proportional and mechanical relationship. That is, price will change proportionally to the change in money supply. I mean the relationship is that mechanical that if you double up the money supply, you will get the price doubled up. Okay, so Keynes started off with criticizing the classical theory. And how let us formulate the classical position first. The old quantity theory, or the Fisher's version of quantity theory, where the equation of exchange is that mv is equal to py, or you can write pt in its place. And the reason that you can write t or y is simple, because y represents the total output of the economy. Since classical economists believed that whatever is produced will be demanded, so the volume of transaction will be equal to the income level of the economy or the output level in the economy. P is the general price level, M is the money supply, and V is the velocity of circulation. That is, how many transactions a given unit of money finances. For example, $100 note, how many transactions does it finance in a given period of time? Okay, so that is velocity of circulation. So if you look at that, we can conclude that this represents the supply side of money, supply side, and this represents the demand side, because this will determine as to what amount of money will be demanded. Okay, demand side. Now, since whatever is produced is to be transacted, you need the medium to facilitate that exchange. Okay, but you do not require the money actually exactly equal to that, because part of the work will be done by velocity of circulation, because a given unit of money finances many transactions. So depending upon the velocity of circulation, the money supply will be demanded in order to facilitate the exchange in the economy. That will depend upon the volume of output or the volume of transaction, and the price level in the economy, at what price level they are to be transacted. Okay, now in the short run, as Keynes had suggested, that volume of output is not likely to change in any significant measure. Velocity of circulation also does not change in the short run, because it depends on the kind of factors as to how developed the financial sector in the economy is, how developed the financial institutions in the economy is, etc. So they are not going to change in the short run. So you will find that price holds the direct relationship with money supply. That is, price will change if the money supply will change, and this relationship appears to be as direct and mechanical that if you double up the money supply, you will get the price doubled up. That means you can bring about a calculated change in the economy via general price level. Okay, Keynes did not agree with this. Keynes' contention was that what classical economists did is what he termed as classical dichotomy. That is, they have divided the value theory and money theory into two watertight compartments. with no doors and window. Value theory is treated separately and price and money theory is treated separately. Whereas in the value theory, they have found the role of elasticities of demand and elasticity of supply. But in money theory, money supply is independent of, or money supply is independent, or it is some proportion of the total volume, that is, you can find it ky, because we have omitted y, because money will be, demand for money will be a fraction of the total output in the economy. Okay, so money is going to be demand for money will be a fraction of the total total output in the economy, and the supply of money is inelastic. Okay, Keynes, on the other hand, had argued that money does affect the price level, but this effect is through what he called a complicated set of interrelationship. That it's not that the relationship is direct, you double up the money supply and you will get the price doubled up. Like, for example, money will affect the first it will affect the interest rate. If money supply is increased, interest rate will be reduced, and this interest rate will result in the increase in the investment. So I will explain this relationship as Keynes had put forward. So Keynes' analysis would be that money supply, to examine the influence, you will have to examine the effect of money supply on aggregate demand first, and the effect of, this is 1, this is 2, effect of aggregate demand on price. This is the relationship primarily. Classical position would be that up to a certain level this aggregate demand would be perfectly elastic, that it will not change unless so long as there is any unemployed worker, and once the full employment is reached, it will become perfectly inelastic, like aggregate demand for the, if you try to construct for the classical position, will be this. Okay, now Keynes had argued that this is not the case. Keynes' contention was that money supply will result in the reduction in rate of interest. Rate of interest will be brought down if money supply is increased, as we have seen in liquidity preference theory. Okay, now reduced interest rate will result in the increase in the investment demand, as rate of interest is one of the determinant of the investment demand in the economy, along with marginal efficiency of capital, again the Keynesian theory. And this investment in the economy will, obviously, if investment demand is increasing, that means output and aggregate demand should increase. Now this additional investment will result, or it will partly spend itself in raising the output or aggregate demand, and partly the price. Okay, or you can call it the output, let me call it, because that will be better, because elasticity of output and elasticity of price is equal to 1. Okay, and this will not be such that economy will wait till the full employment is reached, because Keynes' contention was even before full employment is reached, there will start the increase in the wage rate, the cost of production will go up, so bottleneck will start occurring. The price of other factors of production will also start changing, that were assumed to remain constant along with the wage rate in the classical sense. For the Keynesian theory, wage rates are downward rigid in the sense that there is a certain minimum below which the workers will not accept. So there is a downward rigidity below at a certain level, and then it will increase. So wage rate will not be like that as the classical economists believed. And along with wage rate, there will be other remunerations to factors of production. They will also rise. So this will start increasing. And it is for this reason that elasticity of output and elasticity of price will be equal to 1. To the extent this investment is increasing the output, I mean, if it is faster, obviously elasticity of price will be low, because the sum of two has to be equal to 1. Now, what is the problem in this relationship? Problem in this relationship is, as I have told you, that to what extent money supply will bring down, or increase in money supply will bring down the price level, depends on, if you remember, the liquidity preference theory. Okay, where here we measure the L2. This is money supply, MS, and this is liquidity preference schedule, and here we will measure the rate of interest. Since money supply is interest inelastic, so it is the liquidity preference that will change in accordance with the rate of interest. Now, if money supply is increased, for example, earlier this was the equilibrium rate of interest, suppose R1, now it is R0. Now, to what extent there will be a decline in the liquidity preference, or sorry, to what extent there will be a decline in the rate of interest will depend upon as to what is the elasticity of this curve. Say, for example, had this curve had this shape, then the decline in the rate of interest would have been smaller as compared to this one. So it depends on not only the magnitude of the fall in rate of interest, but also the magnitude of elasticity of the liquidity preference schedule. So the reduced rate of interest that has been brought about by increase in money supply will increase the investment demand in the economy. But what will be the magnitude of that increase depends upon the elasticity of marginal efficiency of capital schedule. Okay, as you know that investment demand depends on MEC and the rate of interest, and MEC schedule is like this: marginal efficiency of capital, and if rate of interest is this will be the investment level. If rate of interest has fallen, for example, if this was R1 and now it has been brought down to R, investment will increase from I to I1. Okay, so obviously this change in investment here, a positive change, negative relationship between interest rate and the investment demand, that as a result of decrease in the interest rate, there will be the increase in investment demand. This depends on as to what is the magnitude of the elasticity of MEC schedule itself. For example, this MEC curve had been this, more steeper. In that case, a fall in the rate of interest would have brought about the smaller change in the investment demand. So first we have found the role of the elasticity in LP schedule, to what extent the increase in money supply will result in the decline in the rate of interest, and the second stage is how much this decline in the rate of interest or decrease in the rate of interest will increase the investment demand. Now, when the investment is undertaken in the economy or increased investment, to what extent it will result in increase in output, okay, or the income in the economy, depends on the value of multiplier. That is, change in income as a result of the fresh investment will be like this. This K is the multiplier and I is the investment or the additional investment that has been undertaken. Okay, K and multiplied by the change in investment. What is the multiplier? Multiplier explains as to how many times the income will increase as a result of the undertaking of the fresh investment. In here, additional investment has been undertaken as a result of the decline in the rate of interest. Now, K itself is determined through this 1 upon 1 minus MPC, that is marginal propensity to consume, or in other words, what will be the consumption level out of the increased income, that is delta C upon delta Y. Okay, and that means it is the MPC that is important. And what is the MPC? MPC basically is the slope of consumption function, and consumption function which explains the functional relationship between income and consumption, where on this axis you measure the income and here consumption. So consumption function could be this. Consumption function could be this. Consumption function can start from the origin. Okay, it could be anything. And its slope of the function is MPC. So here again the elasticity plays a role. So Keynes' contention was that money supply, if increased, it will bring down the rate of interest. To what extent this rate of interest will decline depends on the elasticity of liquidity preference schedule. This rate of interest decline will increase the rate of increase the investment demand in the economy, but to what extent investment demand will increase depends on the elasticity of the marginal efficiency of capital schedule, and to what extent the increased investment will bring about the increase in the aggregate demand itself, or the output level itself, depends upon as to what is the MPC in the economy. Okay, and since at all level there is the involvement of the elasticities, it is very difficult, I mean you can call it the near impossible, to bring about the calculated changes merely by regulating the money supply in the economy. That was Keynesian contention, that goes contrary to what the classical economists believed. Classical economists hold that money supply will increase the price proportionally. So that basically explains whether the monetary policy will be effective or not. That is why Keynes was for the fiscal measures, that if you have to raise the aggregate demand, go for the increase in the government expenditure. That was the case. Now, but later, as we will see later, that it was Milton Friedman who later, through his restatement of the quantity theory of money, had re-established the validity of monetary policy. Okay, so we will see that restatement of the quantity theory of money of Milton Friedman in the other video lectures. So guys, this is all about the Keynesian theory of money and price, and I hope you would like it. Thank you very much.